So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking to a former student who I taught, wow, 20 years ago. And he has started a business where he's going to help you lose weight, and he'll talk about how. Stay tuned.
You are listening to The Leadersmith, Darren Gerdes.
Okay, with me is Jonathan Lindstrom. Jonathan was my student, and as I said, what years were you at Stonebridge? It was like 2000 to 2004, something about that.
I
I don't
graduated
know.
2002, so I had you for a few years for history.
2002. Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
So 99 to 2002, you were my student, right? Yep.
That's
Okay.
right.
So and yeah, wow, 20 years ago. That goes by quick. So I know Jonathan, and so just a good clarification right up front, I know him. That's good because this helps me, say yes. I know the guy. He was always a good guy of character, somebody that I thought very highly of, which is why I agreed to bring him on. So he had reached out and he was like, "Hey, look, can you look over this business he's starting? He'll talk about it." And I said, "Well, look, I can do better than that. Come on my podcast. Let's talk about this and expose what you're doing to other people." So it's more than that. But I was really interested in it because of the type of business and his background. A couple of backgrounds that fit interestingly into this piece of the puzzle. So I'm going to stop talking and let him talk about this now. So, Jonathan, welcome.
Dr. Gerdes, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, it's an honor, privilege. Yeah, so as you said, I'm starting a new business. It's something that I've been working on for a couple of years, and yeah, it's really a background of a few different things has led me to that. One of them is that when I went off to college, when I left you, I started gaining weight. I was probably, pretty average for a high schooler, and no health issues or anything. But went to college and had a buffet for 4 years. Gained the freshman 15 over and over again. Thankfully, I met my lovely wife at college, but I kept gaining through my 20s, and I went from about 165 to 245 over the years. And I tried some diets that dropped a few pounds here and there, and within a year I'd be back up higher than I was before. So so that was background for me. During all that, I was working on my seminary degree. I was getting quite frustrated because I felt this is, you know, is this a spiritual issue that I'm starting to get depressed. I'm struggling with all these things, and um, and then and then there was this moment of crisis. My second child, my first daughter, was coming along, and I said, I've got to change this. And I started to change, but still it was a struggle. And then this final piece came in where there were some guys at church that were starting a program together in community. And man, that just did wonders for me. I was in community, eating better. I learned a new way of eating that just transformed my life. I've last 6, 7 years. I dropped all that weight off. I got back down to the 180s, 170s, and and also just work out differently. But on top of that, having a holistic perspective uh, on on my spiritual walk with the Lord, on how that empowers me to walk this out, and then doing it in community with others. And so long story short, all that poured into this program that I put together because I became a health coach, was trying to help people out one on one and walk with them. I was like, how can I help people more? And it's like, well, I need to create something that would have helped me 6 years ago. And I've continued learning more and more through the years. And I thought, okay, if I can put something together that's easy, that's just like 5 minutes a day, but at the same time gives great knowledge, great information, and at the same time encourages people and connects them in community. Man, that would have worked for me, and it's been working for other people. So I'm just trying to help start a movement within our churches of there's an epidemic of obesity within our country, and it's not really much different in the church. The food decisions we make, the struggles that we have, are often very similar, and so trying to help people out in that way.
So I want to go back to a couple things that you said. So the first one that you said was the the freshman 15 going to whatever you can eat in the cafeteria. In
Hmm.
spite of the taste of cafeteria food, that actually is a thing. The freshman 15 pounds, that is a common thing that people hit when they hit college. By the way, we were just talking about this before, and if you're listening to this, you won't see it, but if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see it. Well, see what Jonathan looks like. And I was commenting to him just before we started about, like, yeah, when I saw the video on your website, I didn't recognize the earlier you. I recognize the now you as a 20-year ago you. Like that's what that's what you look.
Hmm.
I mean, that is what you look like. You were actually on the average to lighter side back in high school. And so yeah, that was a big change. So, and then when you try to fix it, you try to fix it at the very worst time, when your child was being born, or your second child. You have three, right?
Right. Yeah,
Right.
I have
So
three now.
so you have so you're your second child of 3. So, there's a thing, and I'm probably gonna slaughter the pronunciation, Koudove, Couvade, Kouvade syndrome. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know how to spell it.
Okay.
Couvade syndrome is called sympathetic pregnancy syndrome, okay? So, I have 6 kids, and when my wife said, "Can you go to Taco Bell? I really have a craving at 11 at night." You add that up over time, because I'm getting it for her, and I'm like, I could use a couple of crunch wraps myself, right? And so you add that up over time, and there's something that happens, like dads actually gain weight in the process as well. So you were trying to fight it at the worst possible time. And then what you did was you actually fixed it, which I got to give you big props for, because I know that I had to work really, really, really hard. And again, it came at the same time for me. What happened to you? The way that you described it, where it's like, nope, this has got to change. I'm tired of feeling terrible. Like I mean, I
Hmm.
felt like I was. I used to joke with a colleague who was in his 60s. Um, I feel like you look, right?
Ouch.
No, he was a great guy who thought it was
Right.
funny and whatever. But I mean, like, I'm in my mid 30s, late 30s, something like that, and I'm just like, oh man, I just feel terrible. I feel like you look, and just because the weight just does something to you, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's pick up from here and talk about what you do now. Before I do that, your background, your system. You bring two weird, diverse pieces together. The fitness thing is one thing, but the theological degree, you went to seminary, right?
I did.
Okay,
I got my master's in divinity.
okay, you got an MDiv from where?
Southeastern Baptist.
Okay, Southeastern's a very reputable seminary. So Southeastern, and then you have this personal fitness training ish kind of. What is this?
I'm a certified health coach with the Primal Institute. So it's a particular strain of paleo that I think is really well balanced and healthy. So
Okay,
I went through
so
a long training for that.
okay, so you put these two things together,
Hmm.
your fitness training and your theological stuff, and now that's really interesting to me, because things that Steve Jobs was talking about, all the things that are the big breakthroughs are just different ways of seeing new connections, right? So you connected two things that don't normally go together. And the thing that grabbed my interest was when you were talking about you're doing this in community. That was the missing piece for me that made it so incredibly difficult, because I was doing this by myself, really. And it is hard to do things by yourself. In community, it's much easier, right? Two are better than one. Okay, so tell me about what happens in your program.
Well, and I wanted to say on the community piece that we're always in community, almost always, and unless you're
In
locked
COVID?
away. So if you're trying to do it by yourself and everybody around you is doing something different, then it's really you against everybody. It's quite a challenge. So you're trying to find community of people moving in the same stream together. And so what my program actually does is you sign up and you'll start getting an email each day that points you to a video. So just daily video where it's just me as an interaction. And there's three pieces. It's like 5 minutes long on average per day, because I'm thinking, man, if I had to watch a half-hour video every day, I don't have time for that. I'm going to get behind. Let's keep it
Sure.
short. And the three pieces that we go over each day are faith, food, and fitness. So on the faith side, it's a devotional, but it's not just kind of a general average devotional. It's to teach us the foundations of why our bodies are important, why God's going to resurrect them in the end times, why God created us in an amazing way, why we are actually so complicated, and some of the ways that we simplify things down into just macronutrients or just this or just that or just calories. He's made us in an amazing way. And so I think we have to have that right perspective and also the right purpose, the right reasons to do things. If it's just for vanity's sake, I think that's going to be a much weaker reason than if, as a Christian, we say, well, man, I want to have a longevity. I want to live not only a long life, but a life full of energy, full of not feeling terrible, so that I can help people more. So that's the faith piece. And then there's the food section, and that's, in my opinion, there's a better way to eat, and so there's, for every food, there's their positives and their negatives, and I've got kind of, I start with an outline of here are the foods I think that are best for most people to be following, and how to walk that out. And then over that 28 days, it's a 28-day program, so just 1 month, lock those things in. Over those 28 days, you learn all those foundations about how our body works, about epigenetics, about all these basics that help us to understand the why behind what we're eating. And then the third piece is fitness. Now, I'll go back and say that food, and I think I watched your podcast on your weight loss, is food is about 80% of the battle.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
man, you can work out as much as you want, and as long as you're eating the same, you might gain a little bit of muscle. But when it comes to weight loss, it's not going to be your ticket for the most part. It's what you eat, and what you eat changes who you are. So that's the main focus. And I tell anybody, if you're really overwhelmed, you can't do everything, it's fine. Just change your eating. But then the fitness aspect is actually a fairly simple workout process that you can do at home. You only need like one, like a pull-up bar. But otherwise, everything else is body weight. Everything else is pretty simple. You can do it here. You can do it now. And it walks through a month of being able to graduate and do more as you build up muscle, you build up mitochondria as you grow, and it fits with the eating plan, because that's another issue. Sometimes people say, "Hey, I'm gonna eat well, and I might even try this low carb or keto thing, but man, I'm gonna jump on the on the treadmill for an hour, and I'm gonna run really hard." And your body is going to send you totally different signals. It's going to say, I need carbs. I need, and so we're trying to match the exercise regimen with the food. And all of this process, the goal is just to make things easier for you, to make it more likely that you'll be successful, that you have the mental and the spiritual foundation to know what's right every day, get that encouragement, to have the eating plan that's going to make things easier, not harder, working with your body, not against it, and also the fitness program that's going to be pretty simple, easy to do, and fits with that.
Yeah. So as you described this, I was thinking about a couple of things. And the first thing was, this is not the plan that will cause you to lose weight. It's a plan that hits essentially the same major notes that any plan that will get you to lose weight has to have. Plus, it has an extra dimension of the whole faith, whatever that. So Christians would find it far more interesting and compelling. But when I say that, I say there are some other ways that you could actually get to weight loss. But he hits all the same high notes that you have to have in place in order to get there. Okay. Now I know that sounds a little weird when I'm bringing on a guest and saying, "Well, this is not the only way." But listen to me. So I yesterday, as we had messaged each other, and before, like he didn't know he was coming on the podcast. He was just saying, "Hey, can you look at this and tell me what you think?" And and I said, "Hey, check out this book. It's called Change Anything." Per Perry or Gary Schweitzer. I can't remember. These guys are associated with Covey. There's like 4 or 5 different authors. And at any rate, they're talking about you have to have essentially these 6 pieces in place. And if you have these pieces in place, and he just talked about a bunch of them, if you have these pieces in place, then it works. And if you don't have these pieces, it doesn't work. And he gives us great visual. The visual is this: like you're trying to move a van, push a van up a hill. Okay, and you need all 6 of the think about each of the 6 pieces as 6 men, and if you have all 6 men pushing that van, you can push it up the hill because it's heavy, right? If you only have one of the men pushing on it, it's going to be hard. And even worse, if you have one of the men pushing up the hill and the other 5 are pushing against you, you're not going to get where you're trying to go. And so what are the 6 men? Okay, so there's personal motivation and personal ability. There's social motivation and social ability, and structural motivation and structural ability. So I'm going to define each of these, and then he can talk about where things fit. So personal motivation: how badly do you want it? That's the first thing.
Hmm.
Most of us have that one man. Like we actually do have the personal motivation. We want to change. Where we fall flat are the other 5 pieces. So let's talk about the other 5. Personal ability. Now he just addressed this, so I'll let you address each of these after. Personal ability: do you have the knowledge, the skills, the strength to do it? Even when it gets tough, you know how to do it. So you address that, right? I mean, you tell them how to work out. How tell me about how you address personal ability.
Uh, right. So when it comes to working out, I give very specific instructions on how to do push-ups the right way and the wrong way, how to do varieties of them, how to do squats, how to do planks, and how to hit all those major areas of in those muscle groups, and how to do them at the right timing. We're not doing this every day full out. We're doing them every 2 to 3 days, and giving time for the body to heal and recover. And so instead of having to learn that the hard way and learn all those little pieces, it's learning that through
Right.
my experience, my mistakes. And so there's the fitness piece of it, and then there's eating. It's how many times do you eat a day? What kind of macronutrient ratio is going to be best for your satiety, for feeling full and satisfied afterwards, and also getting the nutrients that you need. What are easy ways to do that so that we so that you're not overwhelmed with, I got to cook multiple hours a day. Instead, here's some easy, simple recipes and ways to do that.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off because I'm sure you can go on and on and on about that.
Right.
But you see, so there's a difference. Like if you just go, as he gave it as example, I'm just going to, do the treadmill for an hour. I'm just going to do push-ups every day. No, if you do push-ups every day, you're gonna feel real sore, just after a while, and then you give up. Your personal motivation is going to change because of your personal ability. You didn't have those pieces that he just described. Okay, then there's social motivation and social ability. Social motivation is: do peers, your friends, do they encourage the right behaviors or encourage wrong behaviors? And now, most people, their peers are like, just eat that piece of cake. Let's get a piece of pizza. Come on. Our peers are the worst, man. Our friends, like I had to be really careful about, like, so in a college of business, we all like each other at CSU where I teach. We all like each other, and so we go to lunch very regularly. And it's like a social thing. It's like, yeah, come on, and it's hard to say nope. That's okay. I have this, or when I go, even to make sure I'm eating the right things. Um, and so peers are terrible. So social motivation and having peers. Talk about peers in this process.
Okay. So in the process you've talked about so far, there's personal motivation and there's personal ability.
Yes.
Like those two can often run up against that social pressure and those
Yeah.
peers. And it's do I believe enough about this piece of cake, what it's going to do to me afterwards, that I can say no? And am I motivated enough to be able to put myself in an uncomfortable position? Now, what's best is that you put yourself in a positive social situation. And so, for my program, for instance, we want to make it as easy and accessible for anybody. So they join a Facebook group that has people that this week, one of the big encouragements was get out there and encourage this community, and share your success stories that it's going to motivate other people on. So it's trying to create that social aspect. Now, on a day-to-day basis, I would also encourage to make sure that you have people on your side, whether it's your spouse or friends. Say, hey, here's what I'm doing, and I'd like you to support me in it. You don't have to eat like I eat, but I'm going to make some different decisions this month, and if you could help me in that, that'd be great.
Yeah, and so there's an extra dimension beyond that, and that's a theological background for why you should be doing this, which will give you even an extra structural or social support in that process. The next one was social ability. And social ability, do you have experts and mentors to provide help, guidance, and resources? The answer is no, because that's why you are where you are. Okay, so you don't have that. Jonathan is that. And I'm not going to belabor that. I don't need him to tell you, here's how I'm an expert. We already talked about that. Okay. Okay. So we had personal motivation, personal ability, social motivation, social ability. The last one is structural motivation and structural ability. So structural motivation is, do rewards, promotions, and perks encourage the right kinds of behaviors or discourage the wrong behaviors? Okay.
Mhm.
So working that into the process is huge in actually getting where you're trying to go. Talk to me about that.
Man, so we need to definitely think, as we start out on any sort of journey like this, what the benefits are going to be, and they're personal benefits. And I think number one, we look at ourselves. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to drop some weight, but also I think ultimately big picture, I want to be healthy. I want to live a long time. I want to live a vibrant life, and those are big goals out there that we can often lose sight of quickly, especially when we have to make harder decisions. So I think we can also set shorter rewards in front of us. My hope with this program, I've seen it over and over, is that people get on it, and it's not like eating 500 calories a day and you're just dragging yourself around. Within a few days you're seeing the physical benefits of it, that
Mhm.
you're seeing yourself having more energy. You're actually enjoying the food that you're eating. It's not just just eating roughage and just trying to get through it. It's I can enjoy my food, and I can feel better at the same time, and I can have more energy. And I think those really need to be the main drivers, that as we see those, to kind of run after those, and to have those benefits.
Yeah. As you were talking earlier, I heard you talking about structural when you were talking about, like, hey, look, this is a 5-minute video. It's not an hour, right? So that's part of the structure. And part of
Right.
the structure for me, like, this might not be the greatest example or the example that I want to go public, but I'm going to use it anyway. I put dental floss on my nightstand. Now, it's a little gross to do dental floss, but guess what? I reach over for it reflexively because it's there. Because structurally, it's right there, right close. So
Right.
this is part of the next one too. A structural ability is your environment structured to be to enable the right behaviors and discourage the wrong ones.
Right.
Okay. This is what killed us during, and I'm going to let you talk about that. Is your environment structured right, or how you help them structure the environment, whether it's the refrigerator or whatever? We can talk about that in just a little bit. But this is what killed people during COVID, because
Hmm.
during COVID, we now had a commute that was just down the stairs, and the commute to the refrigerator was even closer. And so I got back from COVID. Like, we weren't supposed to be in our offices. We were supposed to be like at school only to teach, if that. And then so a semester or two had gone by, or a semester and a half had gone by. And when I saw my colleagues again, I was like, whoa, who are these people? Because a lot of people gain weight over the last 2 years. I mean, it's a crazy amount of people who gain weight over the last 2 years, and that's because the structural ability, your environment was structured to enable the wrong behaviors. We're not supposed to be just sitting on our duff in front of a computer screen all day. We're not supposed to be that close to the refrigerator. And, I'm bored. I'm kind of, let's go eat something. So, talk to me about structural ability, how your environment's structured, and how that has an impact.
Absolutely. So we we have to be able to control our environment to some extent, right? So I mean, a lot of times we say, I I have my first personal free will and choices to move forward, but especially when we get stuck in a COVID type situation, we're at home, and say, well, man, that environment's working against us. We need to make it work for us. So as you've already mentioned, the refrigerator and the pantry is a great place to start. If we're keeping a bunch of junk food down there, then it makes it easy access to get there. So one thing I recommend right at the beginning is doing a pantry cleanse. Just cleaning out anything that's not going to be good for us, and and then restocking it with the good stuff. And also with good snacks and things that if I need to grab something and quickly, that it's right there for me. But I think it's also looking at the rest of our environment and saying, okay, this looks like a negative, but how can I make it a positive? I mean, there are people now that they work in a cubicle each day, and for 8 9 hours a day, and like it's really hard for me with my commute to find time to work out. They'll get down and drop 10 push-ups and get back and start working again instead of sitting in their chair for 8 hours straight. They get the blood moving again, and so we can do that at home. That's part of the reason why I try to make my workout program so simple, is that a lot of people say I need the environment of the gym in order to
Yeah.
stay physically fit. It's like, no, you actually don't. As long as it's not raining out, you can go outside. And if it is, there are plenty of things that you can do without any weights at all that can keep you fit.
But they do need it because they don't have the personal ability that you're going to equip them with. Right. So they need the gym because the gym is training wheels to keep them on track because they don't know what you're trying to communicate. So they're not lying. They just haven't met you yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of meeting you, what do they do if they want to follow up with everything that we've been talking about? How do they connect with you? Where do they go? Tell us
Very,
about that.
very simply, just go to bodyforchrist.net, bodyforchrist.net. And it's just a simple one page that tells my story. Dr. Gerdes, you've been there, and so it shares about me briefly. It shares about the program, and you can easily sign on to start that. And you'll get an email day one that gives a whole intro and how to clean out your pantry, to do all these things, and then after that, you get an email a day, video a day, that builds up and teaches you all these things, and I'm a coach along with you. And then at the same time, there's Facebook community, and there's monthly live Facebook coaching where I'll be on like this.
So I think as I heard this again, I don't think Jonathan's the only way, but I think I think it works. I mean, from everything that I heard him talk about, everything that I read about, it has all the pieces that would make the thing work. And I didn't do it that way, but I know that what he was just talking about, the community, that's a thing that was so hard for me trying to do it on my own. It's kind of like people that are going to be listening to this, or people that would be receptive to this, are probably Christians or people that would be Christian sympathetic, right? I mean, if you're a hardened atheist who thinks that this whole God thing's a bunch of bunk, and you think it because I'm mad at God, which is weird, right? I mean, you're mad at somebody you don't believe in. But if you're in that kind of category, this isn't probably your program, right? Go somewhere else. But programs that work have certain similarities in common, and everything that I heard shows me that. Now, again, well, there's a couple of things. I went right to the academic literature. That's kind of my default, and I was looking at the kind of things that work in a change process, because I used this book in an organizational behavior class in the past, which is what. So that's my filter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at, hey, if you want to make changes, you have to do certain things, and he ticks off all the boxes. So and because he was my former student, I was like, hey, let's talk about this. This sounds like it'd be really interesting. But if you want to go to it, go to that thing, go to that site. But I really appreciate two particular things about it. One, the deep theological emphasis that I know will come from Jonathan because I know him. And then two, that additional social support that I did not have. Those two things are huge. Okay, Jonathan, I'm going to give you the last word in just a few minutes, but I want to, as I always do in all my podcasts, I want to give the quotation for contemplation for today because I've always thought about this before any podcast, like what kind of quote will stick with people. And this is, it's from an organizational context, but it's exactly right for anybody who's struggling with this issue and thinking about it right now. Okay. It comes from Henry Prochnow. He's not a household name. He's a guy that might have been well known, or he was a executive like 50 years ago or something along those lines. But he said this: there is a time when we must firmly choose the course we will follow, or the relentless drift of events will make the decisions for us. And that's how most people got where we are right now, right? It was just a drift. It wasn't intentional. You weren't like, you know what? I think my life would be better if I gained 60 pounds. Right? Nobody's going out doing that. They just, it was just another piece of cake. It was, another hamburger here. I'm hungry. I'm bored. What? And it just built up over time, and it will unbuild the same way if you know how to do it. If you have the help to go do it. So, okay, I said I'd give you the last word. I'm going to be good to my word and give you the last word.
Well, I'm just going to repeat back what you just said to me. That drift is so important that you've experienced it, I've experienced it, but we've also experienced being able to actively work against that drift back. And to me, what you've highlighted today is so important that when you're moving back upstream with others, it makes it so much easier. When you're moving upstream with the right knowledge, right information, it makes it so much easier. And so, that's what I felt I needed for myself. That's what I think. If you feel alone right now, you don't need to be. You can walk along with others, and there's a program specifically set up for that, to understand how our faith can help us walk along within this process, as well as walking with others. So I invite you to join along, and I'm just so thankful to Dr. Gerdes for letting me be on today.
Okay, so I lied and I said I'd give you the last word, but I want to say one more thing. I'll let you talk again if you want at the very end. But I want to say this too. The course is called Body for Christ. And I know, Jonathan, I know this isn't just, playing some Jesus game and slapping on some verse or something, because that's not how he is. Like he really did go to Southeastern Seminary, and he really is a passionate disciple of Christ. He really is the genuine article here. He's not just playing some game and trying to, be kitschy about something Christian in order to get there. So I just want to validate that because I know the guy. And that's important if that is part of your decision-making process, or if that's something that is a sticking point. I want people to be aware of that because I know you. Okay. So with that disclaimer in place, I don't make me a liar. Say one more thing so that you have the last word, and I'll be quiet after that.
Sure. And I'll just respond to that. I think that, I think it's definitely possible for people who don't follow Jesus to lose weight. There's lots of great knowledge.
Of course.
There's, motivation, but I also understand when motivation flags, when I'm frustrated. A lot of people, I was struggling with depression, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And so, but I learned as I walked with him how the Holy Spirit, how our relationship with God it's a secret weapon for us. I mean, and not to depersonalize God, it's that relationship that we have with him. Right. That, man, whenever we come up to a tough decision, we have the Spirit within us. We have the power of the Spirit to be able to say, Lord, help me in this moment. And he does. And so That has been a game changer for me as well, and for others. That's there's a couple in particular that have both lost at least 35 pounds in the last few months on this, and it's just a pound or two a week. It's been so consistent, and they've told me, man, that spiritual piece of being able to put it all together
Yeah.
and empower me has made all the difference because I've tried so many other things, and this has helped me to stay on track and to enjoy the whole process. So.
All right.
So yeah, I think it's so important.
Well, thank you for making me not a liar again, and thank you for coming on the program. And again, if you want to reach out, it's bodyforchrist.net.
Net.
That correct? Okay. All right. Thanks for coming on the program, Jonathan. And I wish you all the best, as well as anybody in the audience who is interested in what you were just talking about.
Thank you, Dr. Gerdes.
Take care.